Alrighty, and we are live. Yep. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to, well, what is technically Gaming with Gyoza Planet, but actually today is going to be a theory breakdown. So, first off, hello, I'm Gyoza Planet, the little talking gyoza in the corner, and this is my series where I normally play Tab G. Unfortunately, Tab G is currently going, well, I play video games, and today happens to be Tab G. However, Tab G has been having some performance issues lately, and the servers are incredibly unreliable as to whether you can get a match or not. I currently can't get a match, so instead what I'm going to do is a theory breakdown, which is basically I take an important concept that basically I take a concept and I break it down in detail with me narrating over it and also with visuals. So, today's topic is going to be this. Wow, that is really small font. Hold on. I can disruption grenades and when to use each one. Okay, so disruption grenades and when to use each one. That is the topic of today's video, and we will see 5 grenades in today's video because disruption grenades aren't technically a thing in this game. As you can see, you have offensive, utility, defensive, and special. However, within this category, I disagree with this, and because personally, how I categorize grenades is in 3 categories. You have offensive grenades, which is, well, damage grenades, basically. You have defense grenades, which is smoke grenades, wall grenades, and shield grenades. Technically, smoke grenades should be in the defensive category, and healing grenades should be in utility, but that's nitpicky. And then you have... So it turns out if you drop grenades on the floor, it does that. I learned something new. Actually, that's pretty useful, now that I think about it. I want to see if that's repeatable, because if it is, that's actually pretty good. No, the grenades appear to have disappeared. Okay, that's a bit of a bug. Anyways, and then you have what I call disruption grenades, which are Snowstorm grenade, Knockback grenade, Implosion grenade, and Stun grenade. And then technically these 2 also qualify as disruption, but these are, well, first off, you almost never get a black hole grenade, so I don't really count. Like, that one is just specialty use. It's kind of like an orbital strike grenade. There are a couple scenarios where it's useful, but most of the time you won't get it. Cage grenade is a topic for a different day, because that one, it's an odd grenade. Because the problem with the cage grenade is that it kind of serves 2 roles. You can use it like you're meant to. You trap somebody in a cage, and you can either, like, they get stuck and you can throw a grenade inside, or shoot them if you have the right angle, or use an explosive ability, whatever. What you can also do is you can use it as rapid cover. Because suddenly you've got a giant sphere that you have to go around or go on top of to shoot the... Because let's say I have an enemy over there, and I throw this down. Suddenly, you can't shoot this. You can, in theory, shoot through this, but it's kind of difficult. So, yeah, they're kind of iffy, so I'll cover those for a different day. But no, for today, our main topic is going to be the Implosion grenade. Actually, yeah. The Implosion grenade, the Knockback grenade, the difference between the 2, because there is a key difference in when to use each type. The Snowstorm grenade and when to use it, and then why carrying stun grenades is actually not a terrible idea. Okay. Starting off, we're going to, actually, I will be right back. I'm going to just set up the scene a bit. Alrighty, and I am back. So, what we have here is 4 different grenades, color-coded, depending on what they are. Me, so you, the player, and an enemy. And this right here, this giant thing is basically, it's one of the rocks you can find in the map. And for the sake of this example, it's going to be a very large piece of cover that you can't get on top of, and you have to go around. So you either have to go the left or to the right. So this right here, so we have 4 grenades. We have Knockback grenade, we have Implosion grenade, we have Snowstorm grenade, and we have Stun grenade, which should technically be green with white, but I don't know how to do that. So for the sake of this example, it's going to be green. So Knockback grenade and Implosion grenade fall into a different category than these 2, because these are what I like, or what I call displacement grenades. What they do is they force an enemy out of a position to either benefit you directly to set up a fight, or to get rid of an advantage they have. Snowstorm is more so like a direct disruption grenade. You're hindering the enemy, and stun grenade, we'll get to stun grenade because it's a bit complicated. So let's say you are here. This is actually, you're a bit too close in this example. So it turns out you can kind of just scale out the drawing. So, okay, let's say you're back here. You got an enemy behind here, and they have a gun. Let's say it's the AK, for example. And they're behind this cover, and you know they're behind this cover. They know you're out here and everything, and you need to get them out of the cover, because the problem with them being in cover right now is that they have two avenues of attack. They can either attack you like that, or they can attack you like that. Problem is, or I suppose, this person right here, the enemy gets to decide which way they attack you from, because they can choose, I'm going to attack from the right now, or I'm going to attack from the left. You don't know this unless you have an insight blessing, or we're not taking that into account. All of these, FYI, all of these are assuming no blessings whatsoever, because blessings shift this completely. So they are currently at an advantage because they are near the cover, so they can, for example, just pop out here, shoot you a bit, deal some damage, and pop back into cover. If they get hit, they can heal up with like medical items or a blessing, or they can like run out, throw a grenade that causes you to like they could throw like a snowstorm grenade or a damage grenade or something, and that buys them time. So right now you are at a disadvantage. The enemy has cover, and that's not good for you because you're at a disadvantage. This is also approaching people in cover as a discussion for a different theory breakdown. So you have, right now, this is where these two grenades, Implosion and Knockback grenades, shine, because this is like their key thing, is to get people out of cover or off of high ground. We will see the high ground example in a bit. So let's start with the most infamous one and the most popular one, the Implosion grenade. How the Implosion grenade works is that, if you don't know, basically what you do is you throw it, and what happens is that everything within a radius, more or less like this, gets pulled to the center of the grenade. So if the enemy is standing over here on this little X here, if the enemy is standing here, they will be pulled to the center. If the enemy is standing here, they'll be pulled to the center. You get the point of how it works. Now, this is pretty good, because what it means is that, let's say you have an enemy hiding over here, and actually this isn't a great example, but let's say they, whatchamacallit? Hold on. I suppose, like, let's say you've got, like, this is a wall here, and then this is another wall, and I suppose it's like a building of some kind. So this is a top-down view, and let's say the enemy is hiding over here, behind this thing, and they keep popping out and causing you trouble. It's really annoying, and they keep landing hits on you. So what you can do is you can go over here, and you can throw an Implosion grenade right here. What this does is that they basically either have to somehow find a way to dodge this grenade or get out of the way, because what's going to happen is that they're going to get pulled out of their cover into the path of the grenade, and you know this because you threw the grenade. So what happens is you can run over here, and then they'll get pulled out, and they're stunned alongside that, so you can just shoot them, pew pew pew, and boom, they're dead. That's what it's really good for, is that if you have somebody behind like a very specific piece of cover and you can't get them out of cover easily, it's really good for that, for this kind of scenario. Let's go back to our original scenario, though, which is going to be just a bit of, okay, and then undo these little lines. There we go. And also these little lines here, I think. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's say this is the same example. They've got two paths to choose from, and, well, you need to get them out of the cover. So you decide to use, whoops, wrong tool. You decide to use an Implosion grenade. What you can do is you can throw it at, well, let's say the left side or the right side. This has a couple of things. No, I suppose no matter which side you throw it on, you're basically forcing the enemy to gamble, because what happens is that as soon as you throw this grenade here or here, it doesn't matter which side, you're basically saying is you've got a choice. What they can do is they can either stay where they are, so they can stay right here-ish, tank the grenade, and gamble that you can't kill them by the time that they can recover from the grenade, or they might throw down a defensive grenade of some kind. Basically, they're gambling that they can survive the grenade blast, or they can go out here, out of their cover, and gamble that they can win the fight with you. Here's the thing. Most of the time, any player who has a medium plus amount of experience in the game knows that getting hit with an implosion grenade and getting pulled out into the open in direct line of fire of the enemy is usually a recipe for death. So what do they tend to do? They tend to choose option 2, which is run out of cover. This is good for you because what it suddenly means is that you can now take a direct fight with them. It's now 50-50, which is like a 50% chance of you winning and a 50% chance of them winning, except it's not, because you have the advantage. You actually have several advantages. First off, you have you can get the first shot. So first shot, which is one of the advantages, because you know that they're going to have to rotate out and leave their cover, so you know where they're going to be. Second off, you're expecting them. The other advantage of this is that they only have one path that they can go, this. However, with you have a lot of places you could be. You could be over here. You've moved up right behind the cover and you catch them rotating. You could be over here behind a different piece of cover. You could be in this original spot, or you could be running at them in a straight line. They don't know where you are, and so it's much more difficult for them to anticipate where you are and react accordingly. For you, it's easy. They have exactly one path that they can take, which is, boom, that way. This is the key advantage of the implosion grenade behind cover, and that's what makes it such a good grenade for dealing with enemies in cover. Now, I was having a debate with a Cute Hunter. He is a member of my community. I've done VOD reviews of his gameplay a couple of times, and we tend to talk a lot about Tab G theory, and he said that he doesn't understand the purpose of the knockback grenade, because the knockback grenade, it works a bit differently from the implosion grenade. Actually, it works in reverse. Basically, how it works is that this area here, which is actually much bigger, it's about 1.5 to 2 times the area of the implosion grenade, this guy. Anything that is in this area will get launched in a direction depending on where they are in relative to the grenade's location. If this doesn't make a lot of sense, basically here's how it works. So let's say this is the enemy and they are standing here. The grenade is behind them at an angle, so what it's going to do is that the grenade is going to launch them that way. However, if they were over here, the grenade will launch them this way. Basically, it draws an imaginary line from the center of the grenade, where the grenade lands, and the person, and then it just pushes them in that direction. It's a simple way to see it. So, that's pretty useful, because it's a good way to, it launches them pretty far, which is pretty nice. And what Cute Hunter was arguing, and his statement was that it's kind of useless because, unlike the implosion grenade, it's rather random, because the implosion grenade, you know exactly where the person is going to end up if they get hit by it. If I throw it here, I know that if they get hit, they are going to end up right here. However, what happens is if I throw this and I throw it here, the enemy could do whatever want. They could move here, they can move here, they can move here, they can move here, they can move here, and so their actual location could be all the way over here, or here, or here, or they just get pushed back into the cover, or whatever it is. It's a lot more random, and so for that he makes the claim that it's a lot less useful in general battle. Which isn't entirely true, because the key impact of the knockback grenade is that it forces people out of cover in an extreme manner. Because the problem with the implosion grenade is that it's got a rather small radius. If I remember correctly, actually I'll test it in game, it's about 10 meters or so. It's not that big of an area. And also, the force with which it pulls people is kind of limited. So that's that was what, 3 meters? So let's see, if we throw it down here. Whoops. Well, I got pulled by accident, but yeah, it's about 10-ish meters of everything. And that's pretty nice and everything, but the problem is that if I have a dummy behind that rock there, so let's see. Let's say I throw the grenade right here, and then somebody's standing over there, on this other side of the rock, they can just kind of crouch behind here. Well, I suppose that's more just grenades in general, but like, even if I land this here, they could just kind of like come over here for like the moment that the grenade triggers. Like they might get shot once or twice, but then they can just dip back into cover. Problem with the knockback grenade is that its range is absolutely massive. Observe. That was about 15-20 meters. Actually, hold on. And we're going to put ourselves right in the center here. And then let's... So gauging distances is kind of difficult. Okay, so it's more like 15 meters. That's 10 meters. That's going to hit me. Okay, yeah. It seems to be about 15 meters. So it's like 1.5 or more times the range of the implosion grenade. So what this is good at is that... What it does is that it basically forces... It's a souped up version of the implosion's get out of cover effect. Because what happens is that, let's say I throw this right here. For this enemy, suddenly they are at a very big disadvantage, because if they just stand there, they're going to be flung not just here, where they might have to, like, actually, I suppose a good example is over here. And now let's substitute this for, whatchamacallit, an implosion grenade. So, this is a knockback grenade, this is an implosion grenade. Let's say that currently I throw an implosion grenade over here and everything. All the enemy has to really do if they know how to deal with an implosion grenade is like run over here and everything. Yeah, I can still shoot them, but I can't shoot them that much. Like I can land like a couple of shots on them, assuming I have like I'm not using a sniper rifle or something. But they still don't have to go that far. Or they could just kind of tank it and gamble on the fact that I threw the grenade badly. Because that is the other issue, is that in this case, actually, this is not a very good implosion grenade because it's still behind cover. Even if this person gets pulled, they're still behind cover. I would have to run all the way over here. So, actually, I suppose I should probably duplicate you. There you go. So, like, player, or you too, would have to run all the way over here to try and catch them off guard, which is... It can be a far distance in certain examples, and even then they can expect that, and you might only be able to get a couple of shots off before this person can head back over here, and boom, they're back in cover. And so it doesn't really change much. Also, we do really need a second player, but okay, there you go. Thing with the implosion, with the knockback grenade though, is that as soon as I throw this in any area, so basically I'm going to draw an imaginary line here, like an imaginary dotted line across this cover. Basically, as soon as this right here, this little red implosion grenade, or knockback grenade, crosses this imaginary dotted line, this person right here is in really big trouble. Why? Well, they are in a lot of danger. Because, basically, no matter where I throw this knockback grenade, they are going to be forced out of cover. If I throw it here, they're going to be launched this way. And not just, oh, it's over here. It's like, they're going to be launched all the way over here, like into our next example, even. If we rewind a bit and let's say I throw it over to the side here, like let's say I miss up the throw and I throw it here even, they still have to run all the way to like this tiny piece of cover and everything, which I can anticipate and then catch them and like run up and catch them waiting at the grenade fuse. But if I land a really good throw and I throw it all the way back here dead center, normally with an implosion grenade, this is terrible because all it does is that it takes the enemy from being in cover to still being in cover but a bit further away. For the knockback grenade, this is great because suddenly it's got more or less a 360 area of denial around it, which basically says if you're in this area or if you're anywhere near to this cover, you're going to get launched. And for the enemy, they're going to get launched far, actually. They're probably going to get launched like all the way over here even. And there's still the stun. Now, granted, the stun on a knockback grenade tends to go away after a bit. It tends to like last a bit longer than the implosion grenade. But still, being launched this far out of cover when most of your game plan up until then was based around you being in cover is pretty devastating for most players. And now, adding on to another point that Cute Hunter made is that you don't know which direction they're going to go. That's fine. You don't need to. Because when you throw the knockback grenade, what you're basically forcing the enemy to do is you're basically saying, okay, you're going to get out of cover or you're going to be put in a worse spot of any kind. Because the thing is, even if they get launched all the way over here, like off screen in these backward directions, because let's say they decide to back up from the grenade and it's in front of them so they get launched backwards, that's still really good for me because suddenly they're about like 20 meters, like let's say this is about like 20 meters away from the closest piece of cover, which would be this rock right here. That's really good for me because suddenly they either, oh no, hold on. It's because suddenly what that means is that they either have to find another rock or bush or something around there, or they have to try and come back to this piece of cover where they were originally. And, well, suddenly I have legs, and so I'm going to catch up, and suddenly I get to control this cover now. And so I can catch them as they're trying to run back to their cover. I can just kind of, well, I can just kind of go like, ta-da, pop up right here, and boom, shoot them. That's really good. So, basically, the key point of the knockback grenade is you're basically completely denying an area of cover. Imagine it more so like an airstrike blessing than an inverse whatchamacallit thing, because let's see if I can find the airstrike. I don't remember where it is. I don't really spend much time in the firing range in Middle East, so oh, there it is. So, if you don't know how airstrike works, just basically how it works is that you select an area on the map, which I will admit it's not the best system, but let's say I pick this little house right here. It throws down a couple of markers, and suddenly a giant amount of bombs land there. Now, the bombs are incredibly deadly. I think they deal about 300 damage or something. Like the closer you are to the center, the more damage it's going to deal and everything. But, actually, I'm going to hop back in to do it. But, let's say, for example, that I'm going to actually get a dummy grenade to, like, this is going to be our makeshift quote-unquote enemy. And now I need to find a rock. So, let's say, actually, this rock right here, this is a good example of cover. The enemy can either appear from the right side or the left side and shoot me. Now, let's say this is our enemy back here. They're staying right here, dead middle and everything. Okay, that's good for them. What I can do with the airstrike grenade is I can go up here, and I can click on this spot right here, and suddenly, as you can see, this entire, like, admittedly, I take a bit of the blast because normally you would not be this close, but suddenly, if you saw, that entire area of cover was denied. It was basically forcing the enemy, it was basically telling them in, like non-text version, you have to leave the cover, or you're going to die. The knockback grenade does something different. I'm actually going to go grab them. Okay, so I've got my grenades, and as you can see here, I have a knockback grenade and an implosion grenade. And what I can do is basically, let's throw the same enemy over here. They're behind cover. If I'm standing over here, they're behind cover for me. If I throw an implosion grenade over here, well, it doesn't hit them. Actually, hold on. Okay, it might not work very well on the dummies from the dummy grenade, and I don't know how to spawn in, like, the straw men, but let's say, for example, I'll do a top-down view in-game. If I throw that there, that's still a pretty good grenade. Like, if I was standing here-ish, I'd get hit by this. But all I have to do right now to avoid that is kind of just, like, back up here. However, if I throw a knockback grenade, whether it be here, or actually even better here, suddenly this is just like that airstrike from like earlier. Suddenly this entire area of cover is a danger zone, and if you're standing here, you're gonna get launched. Now, admittedly, as I will demonstrate, where you get launched is kind of random. For example, right there I got launched at a diagonal. But still, this is incredibly hindering for me if I'm the enemy, because I suddenly am flying through the air, I can't shoot anything, I'm stunned in midair, and when I land, I don't know where I'm landing. I could get lucky and land behind that rock, I could land over here, or I could get incredibly unlucky, land on top of this rock, or land all the way up that hill, which has, if you look over here, and let's say I'm the other player and I've run up here, this spot right here has absolutely zero cover. The nearest cover is this tiny little tree here, or if you can, like, kind of run to the side here and get to this, small tree. That is the power of the knockback grenade. What you're doing is you're basically denying an entire area of cover with it, whereas the implosion grenade, it's more so for pulling people out of specific parts of cover, which, for example, actually, buildings are a very good example of this. Hold on. Let's say we have an enemy who is going to be standing, okay. Let's say we have an enemy standing right here. So what I could do is I could throw a knockback grenade in here. That's good because it'll, like, displace them. Except it's less good because, well, it doesn't work on the dummies, as I mentioned before, it's not as good because even if they do get launched, they don't really get launched far. They're still inside the house. However, if I throw an implosion grenade at the doorstep, like right here, okay, it rolled a bit. Suddenly, we know that they either so we know that where this grenade lands, like let's say it's right here, which I'm gonna get out of the way, kind of. But suddenly we know that when we throw the implosion grenade, this entire area right here, basically they have to either run up all the way to the roof before it blows up, or they have to go out of one of the side windows. And we can keep an eye on the side windows, or even better, we can throw this here, and I can run around with a gun, and then shoot them as, okay, well, assuming I position myself correctly to not get hit by my own grenade, what I can do is, well, I can catch them running. Or they're forced up to this balcony, which is not good because the balcony is a very open spot. Or up here, which is also not good because I can attack them from here, or I can, like, parkour up from here and shoot them, and etc. The point is, so that's the main differences between the two. Implosion grenades are very good at forcing people out of specific locations of cover, and even better, actually, hold on, buildings more specifically. Whereas with a knockback grenades are really good at completely denying an area of cover. Suddenly, when I throw this grenade, this entire, well, it's bigger than that, this entire zone right here of cover is denied. You can't be there anymore, otherwise you're going to suffer a pretty big consequence. And consequence being you're going to get flung in the air and stunned, and it gives me a chance to shoot you. So that's the main difference between the two, and each one has their own specific uses. Knockback grenade is very good for forcing people out of areas. Implosion is better for, like, pulling people out of, like, tight spots. Like, if they're, like, I suppose, like, if I have an enemy behind this corner or something, it's better to throw an implosion grenade than a knockback grenade, because an implosion grenade, if it lands right here, it pulls them out into the open, I can shoot them. Knockback grenade, it could either keep them there, launch them, like, if they're there, launch them here, or it could, like, send them into the further sections of this room. Yeah. Now, the other use of the knockback grenade is for people on high ground, and I will actually I'll come back to that. Alrighty, we are back. So, suddenly, different situation that we are in. This right here is a generic house structure building or something. The enemy is currently on the roof, and they have a gun. And this is what we call a power position. It's a very good position for them because they have high ground, which means they have better visibility of the area. It's easier to shoot down at people than it is to shoot up at people, and they also have immediate cover. They can prone and heal up, and it's much more difficult to shoot them if you're on the low ground. So this is pretty bad for us, especially if this is, like, later in the game, near, like, the end of mid-game or its end game. This is really, really bad for us because by then people tend to have a pretty good loadout, which means if they catch you, just like, let's say you're trying to get to, like, cover over here, like over here or something, if they catch you running, it's really easy for them to just kind of shoot downwards at you. And you're probably going to die, or at least if you don't die, you're going to be incredibly hurt, and then they can kind of just jump down and then shoot you, and then get the kill. So that's bad. We don't want that. We want to get them off of cover, or off of the high ground. There are a couple of ways we could do this. Number one, actually, let's assume, like, let's say there's, like, a ladder here. I don't know why, but there aren't actually ladders in Tab G, but let's say, like, there's a ladder-like structure, or, like, a plank, actually. Let's say, like, there's a plank right here that lets me climb up to the high ground. This is a pretty good option because we can go here, we can climb up, and then we can just have a direct one-on-one fight with the enemy. Bad news, the enemy probably knows this, and if they are clever, they are probably expecting this, which means they are probably already waiting for this. And this is where a good amount of their attention is going to be. Other problem is that actually going up the ramp is an instant. We have to, like, climb the ramp. It takes time and everything. So if the enemy is paying it, is, like, for example, or as mentioned before, if they're paying attention here and they notice up climbing up, it's even easier for them to shoot us because most of the ramps in this game don't really have cover or walls or anything like that. So it's really simple for them to just look over and shoot us. And it's even worse for us because there's absolutely zero cover around there. And if we drop down, we're either going to get stunned from the impact or we're just dropping down into more open ground. So that's not good for us. It's not great. Now we have a couple other ways. Number two is we try and get up with parkour. which is going to be demonstrated with the windows here. So like, let's say we go here and we parkour up here and we parkour up here. This is actually a better option than the first option, than number 1, which is to take the ramp, because suddenly we're appearing from an unknown angle. The enemy isn't expecting us, or isn't didn't fully account for that, so we have a bit of an advantage. However, this also has a problem of that, 1, if the enemy is paying attention, especially with like audio, they're going to hear us jumping around and they're going to hear us approaching. So they're either going to catch us in the middle of parkour, which is not good, because as mentioned before, just like with the ramp, when you're parkouring, you don't have much cover. I mean, you could go into the building, but it still doesn't help. It's the same problem as before, except now you have less health, and the enemy might just jump down and attack you. Can you take advantage of this to like set up an ambush? Yes. That's a discussion for a different day though. Let's assume in this one, this is bad for you. Other issue, parkour is not always easy. There are times you will fail and get stuck. And also the other issue is parkour is time consuming. And it might take like a full 3 to 4 seconds to get up here, and by that time, like even if they hear you like jumping up here, they could still let's say I'm like right here and I'm just like coming over the ledge, they can still shoot me pretty easily. And just bam, I'm dead. Or not dead, but like I'm starting to fight at a pretty big disadvantage. Or even worse, let's say I'm in the middle of parkour, there could be a different person who's sitting and watching me, because parkour usually draws a lot of attention, and they could shoot me. And so now suddenly I have 2 people shooting me. I have this person who's shooting me as I was doing parkour, and this person up top who heard the gunshots and heard me taking damage, who's going to turn around and shoot me. So, not great. It's better than the ramp, but it's still not ideal. So, what can we do in this situation? Because we don't want them to have high ground. That's really bad for us. Actually, hold on. I'm going to just do a little stuff for some clarity. There we go. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Nope. That's not what I meant to do. I meant to... This is not an easy program to use. Okay, boom. Nope. Okay, there we go. This black section is the new, whatchamacallit, ramp. Don't ask why it looks so bad, I'm just gonna... Okay, point is, there we go. So, what can we do to get this enemy off of high ground? Because we don't want them to stay on high ground, because if they stay on high ground, there's a good chance that if we end up getting, like, in a fight later, or if we have to rotate or something, they can catch us rotating and they'll get us killed. Well, that's where blessings and grenades come in. Blessing, I'm not going to talk about because that's a discussion for a different day, but grenades I will talk about because this is the key and like one of the best uses of the knockback grenade, because as mentioned before, how the implosion grenade works is that you throw it and then it pulls to its center location. Problem is, having a grenade detonate midair is a very tricky thing to time. So this right here, where this is a top-down view, this is fine because I can throw it on the ground and it pulls the target out. However, for this person up here, this isn't really great because let's say I throw it up here on this corner and everything. Great, I stunned them and I did about 7-8 damage. They're still on the roof, and even worse, they know I'm down. They now know where I am, more or less, and I've also used up a grenade, which could have been used later in like a 1 versus 1, or if I managed to pull them down, or get them off of high ground. So the implosion grenade isn't really going to help you much here. You could use something like a snowstorm grenade, which actually isn't a terrible idea, and I will get into that in the snowstorm section. However, if you have a knockback grenade, this is really, really good because, as I mentioned before, it has the same role as the, whatchamacallit. It can do the same thing that the airstrike does, which is basically force people off of cover. Now let's say I have this stretch of roof right here, okay? If I throw an implosion grenade right here, and I have like a dummy standing over there, it's not really going to do much. They're just going to be, like, if they're standing over here, they're going to get pulled to that side of the roof. However, let's say I have a dummy, and this is the person up here. This is the person on high ground. And let's say I am low ground, I'm inside this, or like, kind of standing here. And I'm going to kind of click more or less here. And I'm going to... Okay, so that still hits me, but, had I done that better, and, like, actually, hold on. I will do that better, be right. Okay, I found a better position, and we now have an airstrike ready to go. Okay, so, same thing as before, we have an enemy on the roof. Now, if I pull up the map, and I click kind of like here-ish, and then we move back, Wow. So as you can see, that wasn't a super great example because I was still in the blast zone because, yeah, it's airstrike. It's really unpredictable. But actually, hold on. I'm gonna try this again. Okay, I've got the necessary equipment. Okay, so let's say that's our enemy over there. We can go here. We can click further away this time, and suddenly, as you can see, this entire section, all the way from here, all the way up to here, more or less, is going to be bombarded with bombs, unless you have like an absolutely like ludicrous, and I mean like 300 health or more, and like a legendary relax and legendary cardio, or like a legendary regen and a shield and everything. You're not going to be able to survive that. What does this mean for the person up on high ground? Well, they have a couple of options. Number one, use a launchpad grenade. Yeah, but that means that it's going to take them time to land back on the roof. So I have legendary stuff for demonstration purposes, but even without that, like, I could still like kind of like parkour up here and then just kind of make my way to the roof. Suddenly I'm on the roof, and the enemy, if they want to land back, well, they're going to get stunned as soon as they land. I can shoot them. Also, I can now like kind of play around here and use this as a form of makeshift cover, as when we start fighting. That's also good for me. They're at a big disadvantage. Or option 2, they have to leave the roof. They either have to go to like this roof, or they have to jump down. This is really good for me. This is exactly what I want. Suddenly, this enemy right here doesn't have the high ground anymore. They have to jump down, or they have to jump inside this building. And now suddenly it's a lot more of a fair fight, because like, assuming I am at a similar level, like let's say I'm outside the building and they're inside the building, I can now use damage grenades or my weapons, like let's say I have an MGL or something. So grenades, weapons, blessings, and everything to keep pushing the fight in my favor, or I could just go and shoot them. And now, instead of it being like a 70-30, where it's like, it's a lot more skewed in their favor, it's now suddenly, I've turned it into a 50-50. Now the thing is, let's say you don't have the airstrike blessing, or you just chose not to carry it. That's completely fine. You can do the exact same thing with Knockback grenade. And actually, I'm going to demonstrate it right here with this guy. So, let's say I'm down here, and we have, so this straw guy is our enemy. He's up here, he has a gun, he wants us dead. He also has the high ground, and we can't really shoot him because of these little railings, whereas he can just kind of look over here, jump, and gun us. That's bad for us. We want to get him off of high ground. So, what can we do? Well, as mentioned before, if we kind of just like try and like toss like an implosion grenade, cool, we've got a hit. What has that done? Pretty much nothing. He went from the middle of the section here all the way to over here. If we're like standing over here, we can like maybe get like 1 or 2 lucky headshots, or like a few shots in, and we can like maybe parkour up the side. That still doesn't really help us, because if like they know that we're going to be climbing up after landing that grenade, they're going to be anticipating it. They might throw down their own grenade, like let's say a snowstorm grenade, or like even like a cluster grenade or something, and they can just kind of like run over here as soon as they recover from the stun, and suddenly we climb up, and we're going to be met with about with a good chunk of cluster grenades to the face. That's either going to kill us or deal a lot of damage. And yet again, actually, if they do that and they come back here, they're going to go through this window, they just shoot us because we've suddenly jumped up. That's not good. It doesn't help us much in this current situation. So we're going to throw another implosion grenade to get him to the middle. Okay, that's more or less where we want him to be. So, what happens if I throw a knockback grenade, though? We're going to do that to bounce it off of the thing. Actually, that hit the wrong guy. Hold on. That's going to hit me. Yeah. Okay, let's say if I... There you go. Suddenly, no, let's assume... Actually, hold on. I'm going to see if it's the railing causing problem. Okay. So, hold on. Let's assume we are a bit better with our grenade throws. I should have probably brought a gun to kill this guy, honestly. Because, okay. Okay, so let's assume, can I bank this off of here? No. Damn it. Okay. Let's say we managed to get a really good grenade throw, and it's like, no. Okay. Okay, so in this specific example, it's kind of difficult to do because of whatchamacallit stuff. Okay, let's say we just use things, we parkour up here, and then we throw that grenade in before jumping down. We take a couple of damage. Suddenly, that's our enemy. You remember the enemy who was up here and who had the advantage of us? Yeah, they're suddenly right there. Now, this is really good for us because suddenly this enemy who used to be on high ground, basically they either have to they either get flung all the way like over here, or all the way down here with us, and we're not stunned, they are, and they also don't know where they are, or they have to drop down into here. And they become that, like let's say the guy up top becomes one of these guys. Suddenly we can take this fight a lot better because we know that they had to drop down, so we can either shoot them as they drop down, or we can throw, like, let's say an implosion grenade to like force them out of cover, or we could throw like a dynamite or something to get them out of the building, whatever. But the point stands is that it's a really good tool to get them off of high ground because they either have to willingly give up the advantage they have and take a slightly worse advantage because, like, could they run inside? Yeah, but that costs time because they have to run inside over here. Actually, hold on. How far is the radius? Because let's say I throw a grenade there. Yeah, that still hits me. So they would basically have to either go downstairs a bit or go upstairs a bit. Keep in mind, actually, I'm going to take off my speed blessings for this so I see normal speed. I have to either drop down for this, which costs time, and let's say me, the player, has entered through this doorway. I can shoot them because I know they're going to have to take the staircase. Or I'm going to have to run all the way up here, because even if my legs are exposed... Okay, maybe that might be a bit far, but still. Yeah, even if my legs are exposed, I manage to land like a really good knockback like right there. I'm like, this player right here is still going to get stunned, so they have to run all the way to the attic. Now, assuming they don't have a magical floating op 74U, because this is the firing range, that's really good for us, because what this means is that we can either jump up here and take this high ground from them, so we can either parkour up and check in the attic, and then run down and take control of these stairs here, and then shoot them, and then just kind of fight our way down the building, which is always good for us, because height is always a good advantage to have in this game. Or what we can do is, if we know that they aren't going to stand here and take this grenade, we can run in here. We can jump through the windows, or we could run through the front door, try and catch them off guard. Or let's say I happen to have a jumps blessing, I could jump up here and try and catch them trying to hide from it. Is there a chance I get hit with my own blast? Yeah, but over time you'll get good and learn how to specifically angle your blasts so that doesn't happen. And the thing is, you can't do this with the Implosion grenade. Actually, you can't do this with pretty much any grenade. Could you throw a Snowstorm? Yes, and I'll get to that in the Snowstorm segment. But yeah, that for everybody watching, and specifically for Cute Hunter, that is the advantage of Knockback grenade. Because when you have somebody on a position of high ground like this, there isn't much you can do to get them off of it. Because yes, you could throw a damage grenade, but unless it's like a dynamite, which has a very long fuse time, so they could either just hide right here and not do anything, or they could even run out and grab the grenade, because if you didn't know, you can grab grenades in this game if they don't go off yet. There's that. And also, the other problem is that we're using up our damage grenades, which would be really useful to have a damage grenade if, let's say, we had an enemy that's trapped in these small rooms with nowhere to go, and we know where they are. So that's the thing. Are there other solutions to this dummy right here being up there on high ground? Yes, of course, there's always a solution to every scenario. But does a knockback grenade work really, really well in this specific context? Yes, and that's the advantage of a knockback grenade, is that unlike the implosion grenade right here, which what you want it to do is you want to pull people out of cover or set up fights, because let's say they're over here behind the building, let's say they're over here and you're over here. This is a top-down view now. Just imagine this is a corner right here. If I throw an implosion right here, actually, hold on. Okay, that's implosion grenade, and this is the enemy. Let's say I throw an implosion right here. They either have to back up, which is good for me because that buys me time to heal or something like that, or they ignore it and they get pulled out here. That's setting up the fight for me. That's giving me an advantage at the start of the actual fight. That's the advantage of the implosion grenade. The knockback grenade is really good for getting rid of advantages people have, more specifically cover, and in this case, high ground. So, is the knockback grenade useless? No, absolutely not. The knockback grenade is arguably a very good grenade for a couple of reasons. Well, the ones I have been talking about for the better part of 20 minutes now, I think. However long the video will tell you. But it also has an advantage, which is it's unpredictable. And that's actually a really big perk in this game. This is why some of the craziest loadouts and like combinations work, because sometimes when you throw a grenade, when you throw an knockback grenade, you don't know how the enemy's going to respond. They also don't know how it's going to happen, because there's a chance that if I throw a knockback grenade, like that time they'll go flying that way. You could be any one of these three dummies. So you could either be up here, you could be up here, or you could be up here. In this case, this is good for them, either right next to cover. In this case, and especially in that case, that's really bad for them. So that is another slightly minor advantage of the knockback grenade, is that it's very unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen next, and neither does the enemy. So is it a bit inconvenient at times? Yes. Like maybe they can get like to cover, or maybe maybe it helps them in a tiny bit. But more often than not, it's a really, really big hindrance for the enemy, because a lot of Tab G is positioning, how you like take advantage of positioning and cover and the terrain around you. And suddenly, if you go from 1 second, I snap my fingers, so 1 second you go from being behind cover to snap, next second you're just flying in the middle of the air, you don't know where you are. That's really good, because suddenly, as soon as you land, you have to get up and you have to you have to reprocess everything. You have to be like, alrighty, where are my enemies, where am I, where's the nearest cover, what do I have, like, you know what you have, but like, how hurt am I, etc, etc. And that's a pretty big advantage to have. So that's a knockback versus implosion grenade thing settled, hopefully. Now, Snowstorm grenade. This one is a bit of an odd one, because if you don't know how Snowstorm grenade works, which would be a bit surprising, but yeah. So how Snowstorm grenade works is that you throw it, and then upon impact, it makes a growing cloud of snow. This has two effects. One, it obstructs vision pretty well for everybody in the area, and two, it slows down targets by a lot. It's about 60%, and you also take continuous damage over time. Now, the damage over time is incredibly minimal. It's like 0.8, I think, so you can deal like 4 damage over time, so it's arguably the best damage grenade in the game. It's even better than the orbital grenade. I'm kidding, you don't use this for damage. But what it is really good at is that it's really good at hindering enemies, and it's also very good at making threats. So, let's say we swap these scenarios. I'm gonna rewind. We're gonna get rid of the cover, because damn it, hold on. Okay, it's not letting me get rid of the cover. Okay, we're just gonna kind of delete, and then kind of just whoop. It's not a very intuitive program, is it? Okay. So, our example of before, the enemy behind cover. Suddenly, let's swap the scenario. You are being approached by you have an enemy that is running at you, and they are approaching you. And let's say you have a bit worse loot, or let's say you were having a fight and the enemy managed to get a good headshot with the AK. That's 47 damage. You can use a couple bandages or everything, but you're suddenly at disadvantage, and the enemy knows that they've hit you because they have a damage analyzer, let's say. So they're suddenly approaching at high speeds. You got a couple of things you could do. You could pop out and shoot them, or you could try and use like a damage grenade to stall them. That's not really great though, because what it does is, well, like it's avoidable, and B, it only buys so much time, unless it's like an orbital strike grenade, which even then you're also forcing yourself to leave the area, so unless you have a launch pad grenade to pair with it, it's not a great idea. It's not really going to help much, because it's like, I suppose it's like this is like, boom, you throw down the grenade, the enemy can kind of just like sidestep it, or even not sidestep it, they can just like wait and then go off, because most grenades don't have like very long lasting effects. And this is where the Snowstorm grenade is great, because what you can do is you can throw it out here, and suddenly this area grows into this area. Suddenly this area becomes really, really dangerous for the enemy, and that's for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's visually blurring. Basically, this enemy can't see through this. Actually, that's bad color. Hold on. No. Suddenly, no. I'm sorry, please bear patience with me a moment. Okay. Suddenly, this enemy can't see through this area. Can't see very well. So, they don't know if you are, like, staying right here, or if you moved over here, or if you're wrapping around all the way to the other side. They can use audio cues and everything. But the other a counterpoint of that is, nope, that's stun grenade. The other point is that it's actually quite loud. Like, I have my volume down for personal reasons, but if you have it up, you can barely hear footsteps over that. Like, gunshots, yeah, but footsteps, not so much. So they won't really know if you're choosing to, like, approach them, shoot them through it or something, or just go around. Other problem is that it's a very good trap, because let's say they try and push through it and try and, like, go through it to try and shoot you. This is bad for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're slowed. Being slow in this game is death. This game, the key, most powerful thing in this game is movement, and having reduced movement is incredibly deadly. Number two, you have an exact location of their position because of the hit markers. So, for example, let's say this is my enemy, and let's say I throw, like, this down and I run at them. You see that? It's not a perfect outline. It's not like I have insight or something, but I know exactly. I have more or less an idea where they are. I can shoot at them. And as mentioned before, they're moving slowly, which means they have a lower chance of being able to actually dodge bullets. That's really good. And the other advantage of this is that it's a really it's not enormous, but it's a pretty sizable AoE. Like if I start here, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4. It takes me about 4-ish seconds to get to this tree, and 4 seconds a lot. That's like a bandage and a reload for most guns. Or even for you, you can use this chance to escape, get away. And this is, now keep in mind, this is case 1 of using Snowstorm, which is kind of like as a get away from me grenade. The other advantage of Snowstorm is when you actually hit somebody with it. Because when you hit somebody with a Snowstorm grenade, they are in for a really bad time. Because, as mentioned before, you're suddenly in a, a field where you're slowed and the enemy knows your location. This is more or less a death trap. It's like a slightly less extreme version of getting tased. Getting tased is terrible because you can't act and also you can't move. And this one, you can still act and everything, but you can't move at all. And as mentioned before, the enemy can kind of shoot you. And this is really threatening for a lot of players because even, let's say, you're a terrible shot, okay, you're kind of like me a while ago, you can only hit, like, let's say, 6 bullets out of an AK magazine. That's still a lot of damage. Most of the time, that's enough damage to actually kill somebody. So, pretty freaking deadly. And even, like, the other thing is that they can't really avoid that, because normally you can, like, run around, you can run around, you can use cover and stuff like that. They're pretty much stuck in this area. Like, yes, you can, actually, I can demonstrate it. Like, it's not absolute death, like, I'm stuck here, I can still run, but it's still really inconvenient for me. And, the other advantage, and basically it puts me at a really big disadvantage, it's kind of like, actually, a good example of this is basically you're making a temporary power position for yourself. You're basically saying, if you are inside this area, you're suddenly, everybody outside the area has a power position over you. And that's very valuable because you're basically giving yourself free high ground or giving yourself, like, the free first shot or whatever other examples of power positions and power advantages that exist in this game there are. So, that's a key thing of the Snowstorm grenade. The other advantage it has is if you have movement players. Because people who tend to move fast, like speed demons and everything, most of the time, they run very few defensive blessings. Like I was talking about this with Q Hunter, most of the time he uses 2 speed blessings and an offensive blessing, which is Storm, Spray, etc. Sometimes he'll slap on a healing, but almost none of them use max health blessings because they rely on their speed instead of being tanky to win fights. That's nice and all. What happens when they can't really run anymore? Well, suddenly only having 100 health is really detrimental to them because, well, they take a lot more damage, and suddenly that edge they have of being able to just kind of zoom along faster than, like, you who kind of moves at a moderate pace, they can just kind of, like, zoom around. Most of the time, this makes them difficult to hit. But suddenly, when they're kind of just, like, slow and they can kind of, like, like they can still move faster than you normally would in this, but it's still really slow. And you also have an exact, like a pretty precise idea of their location. Like even if you land just a couple of bullets, they're probably going to be down to like 20 health or something, and most of the time, like they're going to have to take cover to try and heal and everything, and they're not just going to try and like, okay, I suppose a good example is like, let's say this is the thing. So actually, I suppose I can do a live example right now. So rewind a bit. Okay, so let's say you have an enemy approaching you. They hit you with an 8K headshot. Okay, you heal up and everything, but they're close. You throw they are being reckless and approaching you way too fast with not taking into account where you are or throwing any grenades. That's good for you. So you throw the snowstorm grenade, it impacts right next to them, and suddenly boom, they're inside the middle of a snowstorm. This is really, really bad for them all of a sudden. And let's say you, being the smart and advantageous player you are, hold on, that's too much. There you go. You run out here and suddenly boom. Hold on, wrong color. 1, 2, 3, and nope, and 4. You land 4 AK or like 4 bullets on them. Of let's say you're using the VSS. Okay, that does a flat 20 damage per bullet. That's a great example for our example. Suddenly, this enemy right here, this guy right here, is at 20 health. Now they have speed and everything, so they're able to actually escape and get out of the thing and get to cover. Thing is, most of the time now they're in a pretty bad spot because what they have to do is they basically have to make a choice, and either choice is bad. They either have to stay around cover and try to heal up and gamble, basically that they're basically telling themselves and gambling that I can heal up and get back up to a reasonable fighting amount as to which I can win a direct fight with the player who shot me, which would be you in this context, or they can just try and swing back out of cover and gamble that my speed will let me win this fight. Except that's a terrible idea because most of the time 20 health will not win you a fight, even if because of the increased speed you hit like 2/3 of the shot you normally would on them. That still goes from like, let's say you only landed 4 out of 20 shots here. You're still going to land 2 to 3 shots. You only need 1 shot to kill them. And so when you do that, boom, suddenly they're dead. This is really, really good for you. Or they try and heal. This is also good for you because you move slower when healing. Even if you have like a speed blessing and everything, you're still slowed down when healing, and you also can't shoot, and jumping is reduced. So if you, being the smart player, run around here and try and catch them healing, this person is just dead. Like, assuming like they don't get like a lucky flintlock headshot or something, because that happens, it's tab G, suddenly boom, they're dead. That's really, really good. And ta-da. So that is the advantage of the snowstorm grenade, is you're basically creating a denial area that has a couple of effects. Number one, enemies in it are suddenly at a significant disadvantage compared to you, and 2, it causes a threat of this significant disadvantage, so players will be less inclined to approach you, which means that, like if we rewind all the way back here, to here, let's say you miss this grenade, just because, and it impacts here, and this area right here, where the enemy isn't, turns into a snowstorm grenade area. That's still an area that's cut off. They're gonna have, like, if they want to actually shoot you, they're either gonna have to, whoop, no, hold on. It's Command Y, okay. If they want to shoot you, they either have to wrap around all the way here, which is a terrible idea because you have the advantage of cover, or they have to wrap around all the way here, which is more of a 50-50. However, you can take advantage of this and run all the way over here to this other side. So suddenly, you can either make a getaway, or you can waste their time, and even though, yeah, they have cover now and everything, you can get, like, better cover, and you can catch them trying to catch up to you, because let's say they run around here, they realize, wait a minute, my enemy disappeared, they must have used a snowstorm grenade as, like, temporary cover to escape. They run out here, you're like, haha, they're chasing me, I can now shoot back at them, because they realized I was running after them, and boom, you shoot them, and then, well, yeah, and then just normal fighting happens. So that's the advantage of snowstorm grenade, is that it's denying an area, and if you hit somebody, you're giving yourself a power position without actually having to be on height or have the first shot. So that's why it's really good. Actually, hold on. I'm going to go and set up the flashbang thing, because the flashbang is more complicated. Well, actually, no. It's kind of like the Snowstorm, but I need a bit of prep for it. Okay, we are back. So, the flashbang, the last of the disruption grenades, and arguably the, well, the one that's that's the least useful at face value. Because if you don't know how the flashbang grenade works, is basically, or it's called a stun grenade. It acts like a flashbang grenade, whatever. Basically, how it works is that when it explodes, and when you look at it, you get blinded. I should have probably warned you. And this blind is dependent on a couple things. More specifically, how far away you are exactly from the grenade. 1, 2, yeah. So the duration scales where, close your eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's about 8 seconds if you're staring at it head on, like point blank. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold on, my counting's fast. Okay. So it's about 8 seconds, and then it goes down the further away. It is, and I think it's like an exponential. So like, basically like, at the very edge, it's very minimal, but like a medium range, it's still like 5-6 seconds and everything. And the flash effect does a couple of things. Number one, you can't see your screen, and number two, you can't see a health bar, inventory, or ammo. Now, like at face value, that's pretty okay. That's like, it's pretty useful. The enemy doesn't know where they're going and / how much ammo they have or where their enemy is, and if they should use healing items or not and everything. However, this grenade does come with a couple drawbacks. Number one, it's got a pretty long fuse time. It's like 2.5 seconds or something. And number two, it's not super practical. Like, it doesn't, or I suppose, in most cases, it's not super practical because, let's be honest, stunning your enemy is nice and all, but honestly, it would be better if you just went and instead of throwing a grenade at them and then trying to take advantage of the grenade, you just grab the gun and you just shoot them. It's like, why use a flashbang grenade when you can just shoot them? Well, if you remember what I've been talking about with the Snowstorm grenade, the flashbang grenade works similar. It's an area denial tool, much like all of the other previous grenades that we've talked about, except this one works a bit different, because there are a couple of key differences with this one. Number one, the flashbang grenade is small, or I suppose it's not super noticeable. If you look right there, in this grass area, where's the flashbang grenade? Like, assuming you, like, I suppose, I will do kind of like a jump cut. Okay, quick, where's the flashbang grenade? Like, I mistimed it a bit, but, wow, that's really long if you're close up. That landed about right here. If you have a fierce firefight going on and people are throwing things out of cover and your gunshots nearby and everything, most of the time you're not going to notice a flashbang grenade go off. And the other advantage it has is that it forces the enemy to pause and basically leave an area, because what the flashbang grenade does is that inherently it's not super useful, I will admit. Like, it's not going to deal damage to them, it's not going to slow them, it's not going to push them away or pull them in, it's just a flash, it's like a visual effect on their screen. But the thing with that effect is that it lasts really, really long, and also, unless they have like 5 billion speed, or they like know the map perfectly and know just how to get to the nearest cover, most enemies are pretty dead once they get hit by this. So what you're basically doing is, the moment you throw this grenade, you're basically saying, okay, this flashbang grenade, as long as it's in the area, it's a threat. You either need to, like, actually, hold on. I'm curious. Is it vision based? Like, if I look away, will it? Okay, so yeah, if I look away, so you either force them to pause. So like, I'm gonna draw like an imaginary line here. Like, this is like, let's imagine this is the enemy turning away. So they either have to pause and wait for the grenade to go off. They have to gamble that they can get past the grenade, or they just have to like take the hit and then also gamble that I'm not going to be affected as much by the thing. Now, what is really good is that it's really good at buying time for you, because what you can do is you can throw the grenade and then heal up, throw the grenade, and so like, for example, I can throw this grenade and I can reload my gun. I can throw this grenade, and let's assume I'm using a bandage, it would stop about now. So right after it goes off, I can throw this grenade and I can suddenly reposition, and boom, I'm on the other side of this tree. Actually, here's a better example. I can throw this grenade here, And suddenly that goes off. The enemy's gonna like be like right over here. Boom! I can shoot them. It's not the actually. Hold on. Okay, actually, this would be a better example. I throw the grenade here. I start running. Boom! I can start shooting the enemy who's over here and who probably went to either this side or this side to dodge the grenade going off. There's a lot of things you can do in that short window of time. The other advantage that it has is that these are really, really spammable. And I mean, like, it's not uncommon for you to have 5 to 8 of them in a match. And what this is really good at is that basically, you can basically keep an enemy locked out. Because if you just keep throwing them and throwing them and throwing them over time, the enemy knows that eventually they will get hit by one of them. And so, yeah, basically, like, eventually they are bound to get hit by one of these, and that's your chance for you to go and shoot them and win the fight. And so that's probably going to force them to, like, relocate to cover. Like, I suppose, let's say, like, this is a tree, for example. That's going to force them to, like, relocate to cover, or, like, start throwing back grenades, which you already have an advantage of because you're already in cover. You can, like, just go to the other side of cover or something. Or it's going to force them to, like, rethink their plan, or it's going to force them to just charge at you blindly to stop the grenade spam. And charging at you blindly is really, really good because, let's say they do that, like, let's say they're here, you keep throwing grenades, you keep throwing grenades, you keep throwing grenades, let's say you've thrown 3 at this point, the enemy's like, okay, that's enough, they must be out of grenades, we're going to run at them. They run here, you know that they're going to run at you, you stand back here. They round the corner expecting you, like, here-ish. You're all the way over here. Bing, bang, boom, they're dead. Or even better, you can throw something like, an implosion grenade as they approach. Suddenly, they run into this area. They're in line of sight of you and in line of sight of a grenade, and boom, you shoot them. They're dead. Now, the flashbang grenade isn't all sunshine and roses. It does come with a rather significant drawback, and that is you don't know when an enemy has been flashed. There is absolutely zero indicator, and the only way you can tell is based on how an enemy moves. Now, this is pretty bad for a couple of reasons. Namely, if you think you've flashed somebody and they happen to look away or something, and you turn a corner and they aren't flashed, you're gonna have a pretty bad time. Or even worse, you turn around the corner and you think it's gone off, or like you expect it to have gone off or something, and they aren't flashed, or even worse, they've thrown down their own flash grenade and they flash you. Yeah, it can be difficult at times. But that's the key thing with the flash/stun grenade. You're not really meant. I suppose the threat of the grenade is a lot more deadly than the actual grenade itself. It's kind of like the orbital strike grenade over here. Most of the time, you're not going to get a kill with the orbital strike grenade. You're not supposed to get kills with the orbital strike grenade. With the orbital strike grenade, and actually kind of like same thing with the knockback grenade. Actually, hold on. I think I deleted my thing. Whoops. Okay. Let's say, hold on. Minor technical issues. There we go. It's a bit bigger for magic. This is kind of the same thing that the knockback grenade does. What it does is that it basically locks down an area, and it forces the enemy to either, like, leave the area or reconsider plans, or forces them to wait. And waiting is good. It buys you time. And time is a very valuable resource in this game. So that's the key thing. It is kind of just like, it's like a non-offensive version and slightly faster version of the orbital strike grenade, because most of the time you don't use the orbital strike grenade to actually kill somebody. You use the orbital strike grenade as a bigger knockback grenade, which is basically to say, get out of this area or you're gonna die. And that's kind of what the flashbang grenade does, is that it's like, get out of this area / like, it's basically stop your advance or you're gonna be incredibly hindered and probably die soon. So that's the main way to use a flashbang grenade. Now, obviously, can you, like, try and flash people with it? Yeah, obviously. And is the flash effect pretty good? Yeah, admittedly. But, also, yeah, if you didn't know, you can shoot these cannons, and it summons dummies that that explode when you shoot them. It's pretty fun. I know this has absolutely nothing to do with the video, but I just thought it was cool to show off. Well, this would actually might be a pretty good way to practice your tracking. I'll have to think about that. Anyways, so that is the 4 grenades for today. That was the knockback grenade. So this guy, that guy, and then Mr. Flashbang here. And yeah. So basically, what did we learn today? Quick recap. So, number one, Knockback versus Implosion. Implosion is really good at forcing people out of small pieces of cover. So, for example, let's say I have, like, somebody inside a building. I can throw the Implosion grenade in there, or the Implosion grenade inside, and what it does is that it basically forces them to leave the building. Okay, well, I whiffed that, but, like, if I throw it right here, this person has to either get into cover, like over here / upstairs, or they have to leave the building. That's good for me. What the knockback grenade is good at, though, is getting people off of high ground, which is places like up here. Because if I throw this here, suddenly the enemy is forced to make a choice. Stand up there and get launched and put at severe disadvantage, or drop down into a less favorable position, either like down here or up and down the stairs, which up keeps them pinned, down we can run at them and shoot them. The Snowstorm grenade is a very good way to like lock off an area and basically say, if you put yourself in this area, you're going to be at a severe disadvantage. And it's also really good if you hit somebody. It basically gives you a makeshift power position. It's like having something equivalent to getting the first shot on an enemy as like a grenade that happens when you land people. It's also a really good solution to deal with enemies that are very speedy. And this is also why you kind of don't want to spam Snowstorm grenades. And then the last important thing we learned today is that stun grenades you're not really supposed to use them for the flash effect. You're more so use them for the like fear of a like for the effect it has. It's kind of like a like non-lethal version of the orbital strike. You use the orbital strike to force somebody out of an area, and you use the stun / flashbang grenade to basically force an enemy to stop approaching or to like make bad decisions, which is good for you because you can take advantage of that. Anyways, that was, well, a bit of a lengthy video today, but yeah, that's today's theory breakdown. Anyways, tomorrow or next time, which is probably going to be like next Wednesday. Yeah, it is Wednesday. Nice. So yeah, next Wednesday or next time, like I can't get into the servers, I'll probably do one about like how to approach somebody in cover. So basically, this is the enemy, this is you. How do you get there? How do you get this person out of cover? How do you get there and not lose to them? That's going to be the next theory breakdown video. But anyways, yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll see you all tomorrow and on Friday, actually. I'll probably be playing more Tab G. If I can't play Tab G, I'll probably be playing Hawked then. Wait. Actually, yeah, this is great aiming practice. Hold on. Because their patterns are unpredictable. Well, okay, they kind of just respawn. Anyways, yeah, thank you all for watching. I will probably, yeah, I'll do chapters for this video because otherwise it's gonna be way too much stuff. And yeah, ciao.